Lin Dunn, the famous general NBA's burgeoning popularity, which is propelled in large part by Clark's spectacular performances.
I'm very grateful starting and playing in front of absolutely no one during COVID, and then obviously my sophomore year we had good crowds, the curtains were down a lot of the games, and now...
However, all of this prosperity has brought along a new set of obstacles. As Clark continues to dominate, she becomes a target. The brutality aimed against her is rising, and it's more than simply difficult defense. It's about survival. Opponents are pushing the envelope, testing the limits, and in some instances, crossing the line. That's where the real issue is. The WNBA has always distinguished itself by its physicality. However, there is a distinction between playing hard and dirty, and that line is getting more blurred. Caitlin Clark is at the heart of this argument, since she encounters physical obstacles on the court that some feel exceed what is appropriate in competitive play.
Seattle, and all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been all second quarter long, 44.
Remember when Clark was hip-checked by Kennedy Carter, or when she clashed with Angel Reese? These aren't isolated events. They're part of a wider trend that's forming throughout the league. Clark has spoken out about the treatment she is undergoing, stating, "I feel like I'm getting hammered." For a player of her level to raise such worries is significant. It indicates that something has to change. The roughness thrown toward Clark is more than the game, safeguarding the athletes, and maintaining the WNBA's integrity? The answer is rooted in her profound passion for the game, dedication to the league, and conviction that basketball can and should be better. Dunn's call to action applies to the whole league, not just one player or club. She's making a strong message about the significance of safeguarding star players, establishing a high standard for the whole WNBA, and keeping the game fair and safe for everyone on the field.
One of our biggest wins of the season so far was our first win at Phoenix. I think that really kind of boosted us into how we're playing basketball right now.
As the WNBA expands and evolves, physicality will remain a major concern. The league is at a crossroads, and the choices made over the next several months and years will significantly influence its future. If the league can find a way to combine toughness and safety, protecting its players while maintaining the game's purity, it has the potential to reach new heights. The WNBA has the potential to serve as a model for other sports leagues, demonstrating that it is feasible to play intense competitive basketball without jeopardizing player safety.
Left to go. How important was it for this group to come out after the break and get the win?
Yeah, it's huge. I think it sets the tone of where we want to be the rest of the season. So to grind this one out and get it done, I think is just a step in the right direction. But it's one at a time, and we have another big one Sunday.
However, if the league fails to handle the problem, the ramifications might be severe. Players might continue to get injured, the game's quality could deteriorate, and spectators could lose faith. The WNBA risks losing its momentum and its status as one of the most entertaining and dynamic sports leagues in the world. The WNBA's future is in the balance, and choices taken now will define the league for years to come. It is a watershed moment in the league's history, and players, fans, and the media will all be paying careful attention. To summarize, Lin Dunn's call to action is about more than simply Caitlin Clark. It is about the future of the WNBA. The league is at a watershed moment as it deals with the problem of physicality and its influence on the game.
Yeah, I think just when I can get going early, that's when I really settle into the game and feel comfortable. And I think my third quarter wasn't great, but yeah, I think there's times where we would have crumbled, but we just kept battling and fighting, and I thought it was a really good win for us.
Dunn's drive to safeguard the players, maintain the league's integrity, and guarantee that the WNBA stays fair and safe reflects her passion for the sport. She is not just speaking out, she is also acting, setting an example for everyone participating in the game. The fight about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA has not ended, and it will continue to define the league's future. However, one thing is certain, the WNBA is a league worth fighting for, and it can achieve unprecedented heights.
Outside these 12, but know that Caitlin is going to have a bright future with USA Basketball, and I think, the points that she made, she's even more motivated, more hungry, and just knowing that her time is going to come.
As fans, players, and the media continue to weigh in on this topic, the WNBA's future will be molded by the choices made today. It is a watershed event in the league's history, with long-term implications for the game. So where are we going from here? The solution is up to the league, the players, and the fans. It is up to all of us to keep the WNBA a league we can be proud of, one that is tough, competitive, and fair. And with leaders like Lin Dunn at the forefront, there's little question the WNBA is in capable hands. In recent years, the world of sports has seen a stunning surge in the importance of women's athletics, a phenomenon that has not only reshaped the playing field, but also challenged long-held beliefs. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are two amazing athletes who are leading the charge. While their paths have been different, their influence on the sports world has been nothing short of revolutionary. On the one hand, Caitlin Clark's recent accomplishments have established new standards, captivated audiences, and inspired young athletes throughout the world. Angel Reese's climb to celebrity, on the other hand, has been welcomed with both affection and condemnation, especially when Dan Patrick publicly rejected her. These incidents provoked extensive discussion, shedding light on larger themes such as gender, media coverage, and the changing face of women's sports.
So it's no fun, but I know me and Kayla will go at it if anything. Just out of competition though, she wants to win, I want to win, and we're both just two great players that want to compete.
Angel Reese, noted for her basketball skills, has swiftly become a household figure in the world of women's sports. Reese, who was born and reared in Baltimore, Maryland, has achieved great success through dedication and perseverance. Her early career saw her excel in high school basketball, where she won multiple awards and established records. Reese's adjustment to collegiate basketball was simple, and she immediately established herself as a major player for the University of Maryland's women's basketball team. Her NCAA achievements have been nothing short of outstanding, and her ability to score, rebound, and defend makes her one of the league's most most versatile players. However, Reese's journey to celebrity has been subject to controversy. Her bold and outspoken personality has made her a divisive figure in the sporting world. Some like her outspoken attitude, while others criticize her for what they see as arrogance. Regardless of the conflicting comments, there is little doubt that Reese has had a huge influence on women's basketball. Her ability to attract attention, both on and off the court, has raised the sport's popularity and sparked debate regarding the public image of female athletes.
Reese the O-board, Reese the putback.
Offensive board leads the WNBA in that category. Well done.
All right, fair assessment. Nice pass from Clark. Yeah. First minutes, Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, what a dime from Clark and Jones.
Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, has stunned the basketball world with her exceptional skill and competitive passion. Clark, who grew up in West Des Moines, Iowa, started playing basketball at an early age. Her enthusiasm for the game was obvious from the outset, and she soon rose to the ranks of high school standouts, smashing records and receiving national acclaim as one of the best prospects. Clark's transition to college basketball was punctuated by a number of standout performances that cemented her position as a budding talent. She has frequently given jaw-dropping performances while playing for the University of Iowa, including many 40-point games and clutch shots that have astounded fans and observers.
Yeah, I think for me, anytime you go up against somebody that's super competitive and, you know, has that same drive and will to win, that's what you love. That's what competitors love. These type of games is what makes our game so great. It's what people want to turn on the TV and watch. I expect the viewership numbers to be through the roof for this. Yeah, I can definitely relate to the pressure that she probably feels on the weight of her shoulders, and you know that's a lot to deal with somebody that's 22 years old and has that many eyeballs on her, and being able to manage that. And I know she probably has a lot of people around her that help her, and that's definitely something unique.
Clark's effect on the game extends beyond her remarkable stats. Her playing style, which features a deadly mix of shooting, passing, and court vision, has distinguished her from her colleagues. She has been likened to some of the best players in the sport's history, and her ability to produce under pressure has given her the distinction of being one of the game's most clutch players. As her fame rises, Clark's impact goes beyond the court, motivating a new generation of players and redefining women's basketball expectations.
Minutes, Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, what a dime from Clark and Jones.
Makes Caitlin Clark elite at the very top in terms of players.
First time.
Dan Patrick, a well-known character in sports journalism, has long been recognized for his honest thoughts and important voice in the profession. His opinion on sporting events and athletes often has a substantial impact, molding public perception and provoking debate among fans and specialists. However, his recent comments regarding Angel Reese have sparked widespread outrage, highlighting the intricacies of media portrayal and the problems that female athletes face.
She didn't speak to the media after the game against Caitlin Clark, but a member of the Chicago Sky, the national title winner at LSU, and she talked about where all this attention started with her and Caitlin Clark, and she had this to say.
The event in issue happened during one of Patrick's radio appearances when he publicly chastised Angel Reese for what he saw as unsportsmanlike behavior during a major game. Patrick's disapproval of Reese extended beyond her on-court activities. He also criticized her confident demeanor and outspoken temperament, implying that she needed to tone down her personality if she wanted to be taken seriously in the sports world. These remarks instantly went viral, sparking a flurry of responses on social media and throughout the sports world.
If she would have left it with what she had to say right before the last couple of words, I would have been fine with it. She's embraced the villain. She understands social media. She's done quite well. She is cashed in, literally cashed in.
The consequences of Patrick's rejection of Reese go beyond her career. It emphasizes the continual fight for female athletes to be recognized and acknowledged on par with their male counterparts. Reese's experience serves as a reminder that despite the progress achieved in women's sports, major hurdles need to be overcome. The event also highlights the role of media coverage in molding public impressions of athletes, especially female athletes, as well as the need for a more egalitarian and inclusive approach to sports criticism.
But her attention, her notoriety is based off Caitlin Clark. Because she wins the national title, first thing she does, she mocks Caitlin Clark. And then she doesn't even celebrate with her teammates. So she's made it personal with Caitlin Clark. Then she's played off of that. Even Caitlin Clark getting knocked down in that game on Saturday, who's standing up applauding but Angel Reese. So she's sort of embraced a Draymond Green role here.
While Angel Reese dealt with the consequences of Dan Patrick's criticism, Caitlin Clark was creating history on the basketball court. Clark performed a masterclass in scoring, passing, and leadership during a recent game that has been recognized as one of the finest performances in college basketball history. Her effort not only helped her team win a key game, but also established a new bar for what is possible in women's basketball. Clark's game-changing moves extended beyond her performance on the court. Off the court, she has been a vocal champion for gender equality in sports, utilizing her position to highlight the discrepancies between men's and women's athletics. Her stance has resonated with both fans and other athletes, gaining her great affection and respect. Clark's initiatives have also highlighted the need for more investment in women's sports, ranging from improved facilities and resources to expanded media coverage and commercial possibilities.
Holly's fighting through it today. Here's Clark bodying in, head banking it home. Caitlin Clark with 20 points and assertive to the cup. Here's Clark bouncing, Boston hitting.
The cultural significance of Clark's recent acts cannot be emphasized. Her success has inspired a new generation of athletes, especially young girls, who regard her as a role model for what they may do. The media coverage of her accomplishments has also led to a change in the narrative around women's basketball, with greater emphasis placed on the ability, talent, and competition of female players. This increased awareness can draw more fans to the sport, resulting in additional chances for women's basketball at all levels. Clark's effect is seen on a global scale. Her triumph has rekindled interest in women's basketball in places where male sports have historically dominated the sport. International fans have taken note of her skills, and there is rising speculation regarding her future in professional basketball, whether in the WNBA or elsewhere. Clark's ascent to fame exemplifies the ability of sports to cross boundaries and bring people together, and her
Clark to Boston!
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's experiences provide a captivating case study on the interaction of gender, media, and sports. The way these two athletes are depicted in the press indicates a lot about the difficulties that female athletes experience in achieving the same degree of notoriety and respect as male competitors. It also emphasizes the importance of media coverage in molding public opinions and larger cultural narratives around sports. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, has received much acclaim for her confidence and competitive spirit, raising issues about why the same attributes are valued differently in different athletes. Part of the answer might be the way the media develops storylines around certain athletes, which are often based on preconceived assumptions of what a female athlete should look like. These myths are tough to dispel, and they influence how the public perceives athletics.
Listen, I believed in her from day one. You knew that she would only get better and better. She's averaging 17.8 points this season, 41% shooting, 33% from three-point range, leading the league in assists. Her last 5 games, Shannon, 22.5 points per game on 46% shooting, 11.4 assists per game. They've won 4 of their last 5, and now the Indiana Fever are 7th place overall and in playoff positioning.
Social media has also had a significant impact on how the public perceives Clark and Reese. Platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok have allowed athletes direct access to their followers, enabling them to manage their narratives to a degree. However, social media can be a two-edged sword, amplifying both good and negative criticism. Reese describes social media as a war where she has had to defend herself against detractors while simultaneously creating a dedicated audience. Clark has used it as a platform to exhibit her accomplishments and communicate with people all around the globe.
Obviously, people don't understand, like, if they think it's personal, but when I get between the lines, if friends or anything, if my teammate right here went to play for another team.
The interaction of gender, media, and sports is complicated and influenced by a range of elements, such as societal expectations, media practices, and individual personalities. Clark and Reese's tales underscore the need for a more nuanced approach to sports criticism, one that acknowledges the specific problems that female athletes confront and attempts to encourage rather than criticize them. As the media landscape evolves, there is a potential to create a more fair and welcoming atmosphere for all athletes, regardless of gender. This increased exposure has the potential to open up new options for female athletes, notably in terms of sponsorship and financial assistance. As more people become aware of the potential in women's sports, businesses may be more willing to invest in female athletes and provide them with the resources they need to thrive. This in turn might set off a virtuous cycle in which higher investment leads to improved performance, which attracts more fans and investment. However, some issues issues must be addressed. The occurrences involving Dan Patrick and Angel Reese illustrate the persistent problem of gender prejudice in sports and the need for more fair and inclusive media portrayal. There is also the matter of how to maintain the momentum created by the achievements of players such as Clark and Reese. While their tales have drawn attention to women's sports, this focus must result in long-term change rather than just a fleeting fad.
Angel Reese following you around, pointing to her ring finger and taunting you?
Honestly, I have no idea. I was just trying to get to the handshake line and shake hands and, be grateful that my team was in that position.
A variety of variables, including sustained athlete advocacy, changes in media practices, and growing sponsorship and fan investment, are expected to define the future of women's sports. Women's sports are increasingly being seen as deserving of the same amount of attention and respect as men's sports, and the tales of Clark and Reese are contributing to this shift. As more people become aware of female athletes' skills and efforts, women's sports chances will expand. As we look forward, the tales of Clark and Reese remind us of the necessity of encouraging and promoting women's sports. By recognizing and honoring female athletes' accomplishments, we can contribute to a more inclusive, equal, and exciting sports environment for everyone. We can all help shape the future of sports by increasing funding, improving media coverage, or just turning up to support women's sports. And as Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have shown, the future is bright. Cowherd Colin, an American sports personality, didn't hold back in his post-game analysis toward Team USA, slamming into the coaching choices and squad selection process, sparking uproar among fans and commentators alike.
Injured, and it may open the door for Caitlin Clark to make the Olympic team.
Cowherd started by saying that once you get beyond the top 5, 6 players, selecting Olympic basketball teams for men and women may become political. He listed Isaiah Thomas, Jaylen Brown, and Kyrie Irving as examples of players who did not make the men's squad, implying that qualities other than pure basketball ability are sometimes considered.
This is a layup. In NBA terms, it's a slam dunk. If you can get her on the Olympic team, you missed
Olympic teams, men's and women's. After you get past the top 5 or 6 players, they can be a little political, Cowherd said. He went on to explain that this was more than simply a poor performance on the court. Cowherd's vehement assessment delved deeply into the choices, plans, and leadership that resulted in what he dubbed an Olympic embarrassment.
The Olympic women's team. You guys win gold every year. Your competition's weak. You win it every year. Give us a reason.
Cowherd said that the women's squad should have included both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, calling them the future of the WNBA. He proposed moving them to the end of the bench, claiming it would increase attention and sponsorship possibilities for women's basketball. They should have included not just Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese, because I believe those two are the future of the WNBA, she said. My suggestion is to position them at the end of the bench. They'll draw attention. Let these competitors practice together. Magic and Bird developed a friendship. It's just beneficial for the sport. It will draw greater attention to these ladies, which may lead to further sponsorships.
You're doing yourself a favor. Don't get in the way of yourself.
Cowherd attacked the decision to omit Clark, saying Caitlin Clark belongs on the Olympic team. She belongs on the All-Star squad. She belongs in the skills competition. He maintained that women's basketball had no justification for being taken aback by Clark's brilliance, given that she had been breaking collegiate records for years before joining the WNBA. You knew 2 years in advance, oh, we got a star. 1 year from now, she will be the first choice. There was no excuse for ruining her early schedule, Cowherd added. He said that there should have been months and months of discussions before putting Clark on the Olympic squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. What Caitlin's been able to do in her short career so far has just been
Cowherd praised Clark's remarkable WNBA exploits, which included leading the league in assists and ranking high in three-pointers made. She's undoubtedly one of the league's top offensive long-range performers. I'd say she's the greatest playmaker in the WNBA, with the most assists, he said.
Stop being precious.
He went on to state that Clark had scored or assisted on 66 points, 71% of the Fever's points. That's the most ever in league history. Cowherd utilized these numbers to back up his claim that Clark was more than ready for Olympic competition. Cowherd accused women's basketball of treating Clark in a petty and insular manner. He said that the sport was harming itself by not fully embracing and marketing its greatest star, comparing it to how the NBA handled the entrance of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
For historically low self-esteem, where they want to prove that
they're trying to get her to pay her dues, but she's the one paying all the fees. She claimed, "She is the reason you are flying privately. She pays for everything and you expect her to pay her dues. It's ridiculous." He drew similarities with other sports, adding, "I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bird and Magic came into the league and they placed them everywhere. They attempted to spotlight them because the NBA was more confident in itself. They saw Bird and Magic's potential to raise all players, the league, revenue, and the pie."
Big mistake the first time, not putting her on the Olympic team. Don't double down on dumb. Get her on the...
Cowherd said that having Clark on the Olympic squad would greatly increase viewership and revenue for women's basketball. He contended that her participation would raise the reputations of all the other players in the club, perhaps leading to more sponsorship agreements overall. "I would argue that, like Tiger Woods or Conor McGregor in their peak, she will earn more money for others than herself." Cowherd remarked that rising tides elevate all boats. He anticipated that with Clark on the squad, viewership would double or possibly triple from 7 million viewers to 14 to 18 million with Caitlin Clark, maybe more.
Not only the other women on the team that could get endorsements, but promoting your...
Cowherd also discussed the financial implications for other players, stating the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th best player on the women's Olympic team would make 6 or 7 figures in endorsements.
Anna Taurasi is not one of the 15 best players in the women's game. She's making the team.
Cowherd believes that the decision to keep Clark off the Olympic squad was a serious mistake that the sport should correct quickly. He advised women's basketball not to double down on dumb and to add Clark to the roster to give fans a cause to watch.
About it. The sport made a terrible decision on the Olympic team. The scheduling early, even though they knew she was coming out and probably going to be a #1 pick.
You go ahead and educate us on how you know the game and have covered the Olympics. Good for you. However, part of this is basic business knowledge. This is a layup and you blew it. Cowherd remarked, criticizing those in charge of squad selection. Cowherd likened the scenario to other sports welcoming its superstars, highlighting how Major League Soccer managed to sign Lionel Messi despite wage limit restrictions. "It's funny how they got Messi into the MLS. The man earns more than some teams. They found a method to get him into the MLS. They weren't precious or rigid," he said.
No, this is what happens sometimes with soccer fans. They feel ignored, and WA fans feel ignored, so they get very precious.
He described the choice to omit Clark as jumping over a $20 bill to get to a $5, underscoring his belief that it was an obvious error of judgment. Cowherd also addressed the claim that Clark may be a distraction, denying it outright. "Your argument, which I don't believe, was that she would be a distraction in women's basketball. I roll my eyes, but it's all right," he remarked. He then pointed out the irony that her absence had become the major subject of conversation, serving as the precise distraction they wished to avoid.
To promote an upcoming Lynx preseason game. At the same time, she voiced her displeasure as she called out the lack of...
The sports commentator's criticism was not limited to the Olympic squad selection. He also criticized the WNBA's handling of Clark's admission into the league. Cowherd noted that the Indiana Fever, despite being the league's poorest club, was assigned the most difficult early schedule. They give her the toughest early schedule in the league over any other team, he remarked, implying that this was done to make life difficult for the rookie star.
They knew a year out she could be the #1 pick. They give her the toughest early schedule in the league over any other team. And remember, the Indiana Fever were the worst.
Cowherd noted connections between the WNBA's handling of Clark and other examples of companies taken off guard by unexpected success. He contrasted it to when Taylor Swift, the singer, became a billionaire with the Eras Tour, and the management team and Ticketmaster had to apologize in about 10 minutes. They couldn't provide enough tickets. They were just completely overwhelmed.
There's a reason that top movie stars and top athletes use the same 4 or 5 agents, because they can handle it.
He said that women's basketball was equally unprepared for Clark's influence, despite having plenty of time to prepare. They knew a year out she could be the #1 pick, Cowherd stated, shocked by the lack of vision. Cowherd also addressed what he saw as a bigger problem in women's basketball, claiming that prior neglect had resulted in an excessively defensive approach. This is what happens sometimes with soccer fans, and they feel ignored, and WA fans feel ignored, so they get very precious, very tribal, very insular.
And the one thing that I really love about her, she loves the game. You can tell she's put the work in, and even throughout.
He said he opposed this approach, claiming that it was detrimental to the sport's progress. She's not going to make the USA women's basketball Olympic team, and you're like, are you crazy? Cowherd expressed his amazement at the decision.
She's not going to make the USA women's basketball.
Cowherd also commented on the political element of team selection in men's basketball, stating, look at the men's team, it is political. Jaylen Brown is not on it because Nike does not want him on it. Kyrie Irving is not on it because Nike does not want him on it. He cited these cases to demonstrate that team picks often include criteria other than individual performance, but stated that Clark's judgment was especially heinous.
Again, there you go. Every time she talks, she says the right thing. It reminds me a lot of Taylor Swift. You know, like you.
You're not going to put Caitlin Clark, your Taylor Swift, on the team, he said, highlighting Clark's celebrity and possible influence. Cowherd lauded Clark's on-court performance, highlighting her leadership and assists and good three-point shooting. He emphasized the excellent influence she was having on her club, the Indiana Fever, noting Indiana has won 8 of 12. Yesterday was an excellent example, as she was the best player on the court in the fourth quarter.
There yet? But we may get down to somebody in the Olympics. They can get us back with 3 shots, 9 points in 40 seconds. It's not like you're asking to put...
He also praised Clark's off-court behavior, stating, she says the right things at the podium. There's nothing about her you don't like. Cowherd contended that Clark's induction on the Olympic squad would not only increase television ratings, but also improve the whole sport. Caitlin Clark will increase your television ratings and elevate the sport. Get her on the team. Give us a reason to watch the Olympic women's team, he insisted.
Catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, whereas Tiger and Conor McGregor elevated their sports, Caitlin to some degree. He emphasized that the United States women's team's superiority in international competition made Clark's involvement much more vital, not less. You win gold every year. Your competition needs to be stronger. You win it each year. Could you give us a reason? Cowherd suggested that she would double your television ratings by promoting not just the other women on the squad who might earn sponsorships, but also your sport. Cowherd drew another link to other sports, saying there's a reason why top movie stars and top sportsmen have the same 4 or 5 agents. They can manage it. They stay calm. Women's basketball has felt overwhelmed here.
She's a WNBA player. She'll be an all-star, but it won't feel like this. Yeah. This was your moment. This was the wave. Grab the...
He compared Clark's potential effect to that of past revolutionary athletes from other sports. You got your Conor McGregor, baseball, Bryce Harper. You know, you got your Messi in the MLS, Cowherd remarked, underlining Clark's star power in women's basketball.
They don't get overwhelmed. Women's basketball has felt overwhelmed here. You got your Conor.
Cowherd concluded by framing Caitlin Clark's placement on the Olympic squad as a slam dunk choice that women's basketball had mysteriously missed. In basketball terminology, this is a layup. In NBA terms, it's a slam dunk, he said. If you can get her on the Olympic squad and miss the first time, do it again. You're doing yourself a favor. He challenged women's basketball decision makers not to get in the way of yourself and to grab the chance Clark represented. Don't leap over a $20 note to get to a 5, as the saying goes. You messed up the first time. Please do not make the same mistake again. Get her on the Olympic team, Cowherd continued, emphasizing his opinion that adding Clark was not just the proper move for the squad, but also for the future of women's basketball in general.
But if I'm Caitlin Clark, I'd have told Skylar Diggins, get your coat, your brim, and get on out of my gym.
Skylar Diggins also has admirers, and they have been vociferous in their support. They contend that Caitlin Clark's behavior on the court was disrespectful, while Skylar was only sticking up for herself. This gap among fans has generated a lot of attention around the WNBA and resulted in some intense debates online. This episode has clearly hit a chord with many individuals, eliciting a range of strong emotions. While the incident between Caitlin Clark and Skylar Diggins is definitely noteworthy, it also highlights a wider problem in the
had an amazing year and is nominated for 3 awards.
Serena Williams recently made news at the ESPY Awards for a statement regarding Caitlin Clark, which sparked extensive discussion and controversy.
Caitlin, you are the Larry Bird in that you are an amazing player. You have ties to Indiana, and white people are really crazy about you.
The comment addressed issues of racism, representation, and the larger ramifications for women's sports.
And she tries to stay grounded, and she says she doesn't, what did she say? She doesn't have a social, she doesn't look at her social, and I get it. I don't either.
This article will look at the backdrop of Williams' words, the emotions they elicited, and the possible influence on sports and society.
No matter what other people do, then if people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do, basically. And hopefully she'll continue to do what she's doing.
At the ESPYs, Serena Williams likened Caitlin Clark to Larry Bird, a great white basketball player, stating, "You are Larry Bird and you are an amazing player."
Bird in the corner, double fake, jumper, it's good! Larry Bird hits it with 2 seconds left.
You have links to Indiana, and white folks are passionate about you. While Williams may have meant to congratulate Clark, her statements unwittingly introduced race into the discourse, implying that Clark's fame is based on her color rather than her skill. Williams' views are relevant for many reasons.
And Angel Reese knows a ring is coming.
Larry Bird is a respected figure in basketball history.
Oh, there's Max on the offensive board on the cut to Bird, swings through, little reverse, layup is good.
How did he make that one? I want to tell you, I didn't think he was going to shoot it.
So being compared to him may be seen as a huge praise. However, the parallel gets problematic when it looks to cast Clark as an extraordinary white player rather than just a great player.
Up in time, Clark for the win! She does it time and time again, the 40-piece!
The inference is that her accomplishments and capabilities are perceived via a racial prism, which is not only limiting but also unjust to her skills and efforts. Comparing Caitlin Clark to Larry Bird only on the basis of race is dubious.
Just to ask you directly, when people use your name for racism, misogyny, whatever, what is your response to that specifically?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing.
It indicates that Clark can only be compared to other white athletes, which undervalues her unique abilities and accomplishments. Furthermore, implying that white people are really crazy about you indicates that Clark's fandom is mostly white.
The ball to her, and that's exactly what she did. I mean, she started off hot, stayed hot throughout the entire game, but I think she also took pressure off of her when she was able to find her teammates in transition, get them the ball, and that
disregarding the diversity of her fans. This kind of racial stereotyping is antiquated and dangerous, especially in 2023, when society should be progressing beyond such limiting perspectives. The phrase also speaks to larger cultural concerns, such as how individuals are often classified and condemned based on their race. In sports, this emerges as racial stereotyping, in which players are frequently compared to others of their race rather than being valued as individuals. Such remarks may exacerbate divides and inhibit the appreciation of variety in sports.
I think, everybody in our world, deserves the same amount of respect. The women on our league deserve the same amount of respect. So people should not be using my name to push those agendas. It's disappointing.
Athletes like Clark should be honored for their abilities and accomplishments rather than their race. Serena's words elicited an instant and divided response. At the ESPYs, the crowd remained quiet, suggesting discomfort or astonishment. On social media, sentiments varied from humor to fury. Some fans thought Serena's statement amusing and true, while others were genuinely outraged.
Some of the women in this league were my biggest idols and role models growing up, and so just treating every single woman in this league with the same amount of respect, I think is just a basic human thing that everybody should do. Like, just be a kind person and treat them, how you would want to be treated. And I think it's, very simple.
Asking why race had to be brought into the discussion, one fan appropriately questioned why bring race into it. Many people agreed that the event should have focused only on Clark's achievements, without any racial criticism.
And then my parents are here tonight over here. My dad was actually my first ever AAU basketball coach, so this is kind of a full circle moment, and I grew up playing a lot of AAU sports, whether it was softball, basketball.
The range of responses demonstrates the difficulty of addressing race in public spaces. On the one hand, some individuals value honesty and find it refreshing to hear high-profile athletes talk candidly about race. On the other side, many people think that such remarks might distract from the athlete's accomplishments and divert attention away from their skills. The various replies reflect that society is still wrestling with how to approach race conversations, particularly in high-stakes settings such as big award events. Interestingly, Caitlin Clark has kept mute on the matter. She has made no public declarations or shared any responses on social media.
Caitlin Clark has done so much, not only for women's college basketball, obviously what she's doing in the WNBA.
This quiet reveals much about her character and concentration. During her acceptance speech at the ESPYs, Clark merely expressed gratitude. "I just wanted to say thank you for this acknowledgement. It was a memorable year for women's athletics."
Hey everyone, it's Caitlin Clark. I just wanted to say thank you for this recognition. Obviously, I could not be there tonight. I'm a little bit busy in Indianapolis. Special for all of us, and it was a special year in women's athletics. So thank you, ESPN. I just want to give a shout out to all the nominees and award winners tonight. I'm sad I couldn't be there, but I hope you all have an amazing night.
Her reaction was elegant and free of controversy, emphasizing her commitment to her sport rather than engaging in unneeded drama. Clark's decision to remain quiet might be taken in several ways. It might be a calculated strategy to avoid additional controversy while focusing on her game. It might also represent her desire to let her performance speak for itself rather than engage in a dispute that may detract from her accomplishments. Clark exemplifies professionalism and attention by keeping her cool and avoiding provocative statements.
Let's hear it for your Iowa women's basketball team. Our unanimous player of the year is going to take the mic. Take it away, Caitlin Clark.
Woo! Let's go!
Promoting the notion that athletes should be recognized for their abilities and devotion. Serena's statement ignited a bigger debate regarding racism in women's sports. Some contend that comparing Clark to Larry Bird is just another example of racial stereotyping, which persists throughout sports. One admirer said, "Some white people prefer Serena Williams and some black people like Caitlin Clark."
The criticism is often very one-sided. Caitlin Clark talks her shit. Caitlin Clark is demonstrative. Caitlin Clark, people aren't bothered by that. People aren't bothered by it because they're caught up in the narrative of, oh, here's this, wonderful.
Generalization is provocative. This argument emphasizes the continuing challenges of racism and representation in athletics, demonstrating that these discussions are far from ending. The topic expands beyond Serena and Clark. It addresses the broader problem of how athletes of various races are regarded and handled. Historically, black athletes have faced different standards and expectations than their white counterparts.
This morning, this physical moment involving the WNBA's most high-profile rookie raising questions.
Unnecessary.
Chicago's Kennedy Carter shoulder-checking the Fever's Caitlin Clark, knocking her to the ground.
This has resulted in a lengthy history of racial bigotry and uneven treatment in athletics. Serena's words, whether deliberate or not, have pushed these concerns back to the forefront.
I think at the end of the day, I'm a competitor. Now that it's another day, I've had an off day, now I can answer your questions and I can let you know how I really feel about things. But I'm a competitor and I'm going to compete no matter who you are.
Reminding us that much more work has to be done to achieve genuine equality in sports.
It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is.
Despite the uproar, Caitlin Clark's popularity continues to rise. Her outstanding abilities and accomplishments have resulted in record viewership for the WNBA and venues packed with fans of all ethnicities. Clark's appeal transcends color.
I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. And so the part of it is about race.
Demonstrating that skill and determination are universal qualities that captivate a varied audience.
That she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma against the LGBTQ plus community.
Clark's ability to keep her concentration and execute at a high level under criticism is admirable.
70% of the WNBA is black. A third of the players are in the LGBTQ plus community.
It illustrates her perseverance and resolve to achieve despite external distraction.
And we have to do something about that stigma in this country. I think that people have a problem with basketball playing women that are lesbian.
Her rising popularity also reflects a change in how fans see sports. Skill and effort are more valued despite ethnic or other superficial distinctions. This is a good omen for the future of sports, since it indicates that supporters are growing more inclusive and open-minded. Serena Williams is under widespread criticism for her statements. Critics contend that introducing race into a time intended to honor Clark's accomplishments was needless and divisive.
But to my teammates and coaches that I had at the University of Iowa, it's special for all of us, and it was a special year in women's athletics. So thank you, ESPN.
This scandal has caused some to doubt Serena's legacy. Williams, a pioneer who has inspired many people and broken innumerable boundaries, is now in danger of ruining her reputation with a statement that many people believe is improper. Williams' legacy is multifaceted.
About Serena doing well in her first round against Christiane was the serve started flowing, started firing.
She has been a strong champion for gender and racial equality in athletics, utilizing her position to raise awareness and fight for change.
Like businesses and companies and Serena Ventures and Win Beauty and all the stuff that I'm doing and Serena in the arena, and like it's just like it's so much. So.
However, her latest remark has ignited a discussion about whether high-profile athletes should be more cautious with their comments. The outcry against Serena indicates that fans want their celebrities to maintain certain standards and avoid words that may be seen as divisive. This episode serves as a warning that even well-intentioned words may have unexpected repercussions, and that public figures must be aware of their influence. The topic of racism in female athletics is not new. There has always been an unspoken conflict about how athletes of various races are regarded and handled. This tension may be observed in many sports, including tennis, basketball, and track and field. The WNBA and other sports organizations have taken steps to address these concerns via diversity and inclusion initiatives. Still, incidents like Serena's statement demonstrate that more work needs to be done. Historically, black athletes have struggled to acquire fame and respect in predominantly white sports. This has resulted in a history of racial intolerance and discrimination that continues to impact athletes today. The WNBA's attempts to promote diversity and inclusion are positive milestones, but they are insufficient on their own. To develop a genuinely inclusive atmosphere, all stakeholders must work together, including players, spectators, and media. Serena's statement has unintentionally sparked a bigger discussion about how race is viewed in sports. Stephen A. Smith said, "Race is always the component that we can ignore, but it doesn't always have to be negative." This viewpoint emphasizes the need to acknowledge race without allowing it to dominate or adversely influence the narrative. The idea is to honor athletes for their accomplishments, while also encouraging a more inclusive and polite conversation on race. The objective is to strike a balance between acknowledging the importance of race and ensuring that it does not overwhelm the athlete's accomplishments. This necessitates a balanced strategy that respects each athlete's uniqueness, while also considering the larger societal environment in which they function. It is important to have open and honest talks on race, but they must be presented in a manner that fosters understanding and inclusiveness rather than division. The WNBA has taken strong steps to promote diversity and inclusion. They have developed policies and activities to provide a friendly atmosphere for all players and supporters. These initiatives are critical to influencing the way race and representation are seen in sports. However, altering attitudes and views is a lengthy process that takes continuous work and dedication from all parties involved. The WNBA's activities include programs to help young players from varied backgrounds, attempts to expand representation in leadership roles, and awareness campaigns on the value of diversity and inclusion. These approaches are critical for developing a more inclusive sports culture. However, it is essential to acknowledge that true transformation requires more than simply rules and initiatives. It requires a change in attitudes and actions, which can only be accomplished by consistent effort and participation. Serena Williams' statement has prompted a critical discussion about racism, representation, and diversity in sports. While it may have created pain and controversy, it also provides a chance for development and learning. The sports community and society at large must participate in meaningful discourse about these concerns in order to create a more inclusive and respectful environment for everyone. The route ahead requires a commitment to continual education and awareness. This entails listening to underrepresented populations' views, understanding the obstacles they encounter, and collaborating to build a more inclusive atmosphere.